Welcome back to the next installment of Retro Chatter, the official returning retro podcast. I have a special treat tonight. With me is Eric Bouchard of Bouchard Industries. Eric, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me over.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I know it's a little bit later for you than it is for me, so I appreciate you.
Oh, it's
I
all good.
appreciate you jumping on with me. But yeah, without no delay here, my friend. Let's just jump right into it. So, Bouchard Industries, what is it? Why did you start Bouchard Industries, and what do you hope to achieve? And maybe honestly, Eric, just tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got to where you are right now, talking to me on this podcast.
Yeah, sure. It's quite a long story, I suppose, but well, my background is in game development. So I made a lot of mobile games in my career. It was mostly through my business, Bouchard Industries. And essentially, at some point, I did a lot of UI development, so C++ through UI. And these for like TV apps. So, similar to Netflix, but not Netflix. So I did that for almost a decade, and a lot of like porting work, a lot of building some rendering pipelines for rendering stuff onto the screen. So it was very much related to game development because the engine was built kind of like a game engine, and this was for a full-time company. So Bouchard Industries was kind of like part-time, and I was working at nights, like long nights on the games and weekends, and you know how it is. And we actually made a few award-winning games back in the day, and we participated in a lot of game jams, and we really wanted to try to make some kind of income from that. And it wasn't huge, but we did have a lot of wins, like small wins here and there. And at some point, I sat down and I thought about the core values of the business, and they were aligning with trying to help people improve their lives as much as possible. And so it's funny, we started making casino games, which sounds not,
Whoa.
it doesn't sound like good for people, but our games were completely, like you weren't putting money into it. You weren't gambling your money. It was designed to get people out of casinos, because I saw it firsthand. People were very addicted to casinos, right? Like you go and you spend money and people lose their life savings. So we were trying to, maybe it's kind of a gateway too at the same time, but our initial thought was to get people out of casinos and, still have like a little bit of fun onto the mobile apps. And so that's kind of the background. And eventually we almost partnered with companies to try to bring this to more people. But that didn't go completely through. So we had like a backlog of a lot of ideas that we had, and some of them were financial apps. So, similar to like Rocket Money, I think that's the name of the app. But one of them that I had since 2023 was the Basic Phone. So this phone we thought about for a long time now, and essentially it was to try to help people get off of social media and just, get their lives back. And I thought that really hit hard with our core value, like a little bit more clear than making games to get people out of casinos, for example. So it was very out of our element, but spent a lot of time learning circuitry and electronics, fixing old things. And we didn't start working on it for a while, and then we started last year, and it's going pretty well so far. So
Awesome. What is one of the, or maybe a couple of things that you're most proud of that you were able to accomplish, whether it was an app or a game or something like that, during maybe that initial era of Bouchard Industries?
yeah, I think anyone can come up with an idea, right? But the thing I'm most proud of is I always start a project and finish it, and release it to the public. And this is why it's a good for the Basic Phone, because a lot of our past projects, we've always started them and we finished them. So unless some of them maybe not, but I'd say like 90% of our projects, we finish them because, what's the point of working on it if you can't share it with the world?
I think that's a really good point, and I think also very true. As a homeowner, I have many more projects that I have started than I have finished.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I can
understand.
definitely maybe on a much smaller scale relate to that. So excellent. Well, you've mentioned I think the main event being the basic phone. I'm gonna have people wait a little bit longer because I want to ask you maybe a transition question. So you mentioned creating something to help people in a way that, at least the way I interpreted it, the way you described it, very different than the direction most tech was going or has been going. What made
Yeah.
you decide, you and your team, to make or start working on the basic phone as opposed to just making do with whatever stuff was already existing on the market?
So related to phones or just kind of anything in general or
Primarily phones, and
yeah.
maybe a little bit of a spoiler, I guess. The basic phone, it's not an app, it's an actual
Yeah.
phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
we did think about making an app and uh, but in general we did try a few things in between the phone and the games. Like we did a couple of SaaS projects, uh, like email marketing tools and stuff like that. And but eventually we wanted to do something that was different than what we had found so far. So we looked into Linux phones, we looked into uh, dumb phones in general, and we couldn't really find something exactly like what we wanted. And I've been wanting a phone like this since like 2013,
Mm.
and I couldn't really find one that did exactly that. But um, the dumb phone aspect is fairly new. I would say it's past like COVID times, because you notice it, right? Like once you start to be around people, they're all on their phones and being distracted, right? So that's when it clicked in my head that this needs to stop. It's like a silent epidemic. I think just the mental health is very much affected by being constantly on our phones and just doom scrolling, right? And if only everyone could adopt a dumb phone, not everyone, but most people, if they could, I think the world would be a better place. Because just think about the old days, like back in the 90s, early 2000s, even early 2010s, it wasn't this bad. You know, like Facebook was around, but it was on your computer
Hmm.
most of the time. And I feel like if you have a dedicated place to go to, that's different. And like I love technology, but I just feel like there's a respect missing these days. Like the technology doesn't respect you anymore, and the companies don't respect you anymore. So I think someone needs to step in and do something about it.
Oh, I love that. And Eric, I could go on and on and on about so much of what you just said.
Yeah.
I think, but I think, broad strokes, you hit the nail on the head. It is something that I think many of us kind of saw prior to COVID, but then COVID just kind of blew the lid off. And it's like, oh, we are, as we being like, as a society, broadly speaking, kind of hooked to technology in ways that we didn't really used to be before. I mean, going back to, like you had mentioned, I think, 90s or early 2000s, there were parts of technology that were new and exciting, but you could tell that the technology was made to serve or help the end user, whereas
Yep.
now, at least in my opinion, that's flipped on its head. The end user is used to serve the technology or the tech platforms or what have
Yeah.
you. So yeah, you're preaching the same message that we over at Returning Retro have been trying to get across as well. Okay,
Yeah.
so
That's awesome.
let's dive in. So the basic phone, my understanding of it, and for the viewers and the listeners, is it will be in its current iteration, or what you guys are working on right now, a Linux mobile based mobile device, but also combined with an e-paper e-ink display, but also combined with a physical keyboard, maybe
Yeah.
reminiscent of the Blackberries of yore, or some of the newer devices, minimal phone, clicks communicator, forthcoming. Eric, that is a wild mix, and I'm sure there are some other hardware and software decisions that
Yeah.
I'm missing, but maybe tell us a little bit about that. What made you choose that very unique combination that you did?
Yeah. And I think this is like from a lot of years of just feeling disrespected by technology and just doom scrolling in general isn't great for you. So, there is some options out there for dumb phones, but there needs to be something kind of more balanced, but still heavily on the dumb phone side. And there's a phone for everyone, right? Like we're not saying this phone is for everyone. And I think an iPhone, for example, is not for everyone. And some dumb phones are for specific people, but ours is more if you're looking into something that is close to dumb phone, but with more features than most dumb phones. So we're going to have things like WhatsApp, two-factor
Mm.
authentication, things like that that are typically not on dumb phones. And it's also a culmination of a bunch of core values that the company has. And these are open source. So we want to make the code completely open source so
Oh,
that people
cool.
can see that we're not tracking anything. I mean, when I say open source, it'll be open to the user. They can see it, but there might be some licensing if other businesses want to use it, for example. So I think there's another term than open source, but it's open to people. They can see we don't track anything. And this is an inspiration from back in the early 2010s when I was watching Edward Snowden movie,
Mm.
and it was showing about how everything is being tracked like crazy and you can't escape it. And it's not like you got something to hide, but it's just the idea behind it. You know, there's always something like you're talking about something with someone and then you get an ad about it and you never like wrote it down. And it's like getting on my nerves. And I found a bunch of phones that could do it, but there is just something not solid enough yet. So, and the e-paper is to be able to not get overstimulated because,
Mm.
you know, with all the colors and the speed of the screen, really a phone, you just need to call, text, WhatsApp. We also going to have email on there, which most dumb phones don't have it. And GPS, we're going to have turn by turn and map navigation.
Oh,
So
cool.
we already have that. Like we R&D'd it before CS and we showed it at CS 2026 and it was working great. Like we have our own server, which doesn't run on Google. It's like using all open source maps. So there's nothing like we're trying to disconnect from big techs as well
Mm.
because we want independence from big tech companies because you, as a company, you become a user of the companies because, for example, all of our apps that were on iPhone in the App Store, like if Apple decides they don't like our icon, they can remove our apps if they want. And that hurts our business. So
Mm.
we wanted to make kind of our own ecosystem type of thing, but also make it open to the people so that they see we're not tracking and, you know, and then the keyboard is a lot better to use a keyboard on an e-paper because typing on e-paper is really, really painful. Like it's slow to type on a e-paper. So
Oh, like tapping on the touch screen, you mean?
yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
So it's kind of an after effect that it gave us a lot of interest in the project because I know a lot of people love keyboards on phones, and for us it was yeah, yeah. I saw a bunch of your videos, and it's for us it was more about the functionality of the phone. But hey, I'm really happy that people like this concept, and to be honest, we've been well, I've personally made this company 10 or 11 years ago, and I've been working hard trying to create something that would kick off, and this is clearly our winning like project because it's getting a lot of attention, it's getting a lot of uh, emails by people, and for us tomorrow if we want to, we can just flip a switch and advertise the product more and we'll get a lot of followers, a lot of signups, but we're just not there yet with the hardware. Like we're currently on the prototype version 2, and once that's solid, we do like a V3 prototype, and then we'll be ready to do a Kickstarter launch. And so I don't want to prematurely launch because you don't want to piss off people and take 2-3 years to
Right.
release the phone, right? But yeah, knock on wood, we don't want to be that to happen to us.
Right. And that was something I had wanted to ask about. Oh, and by the way, I was going to mention this earlier, but I am still kicking myself that I didn't know you were at CES because I went this
Oh,
year
it's
and
all good.
that would have been so I might have even like heard of the project but it was right around the same time. So
Yeah.
but
We
so
were
yeah.
very low profile, to be honest. We went to big profile show, and we kind of just shadow dropped. Like we just appeared from Canada, we just appeared in Las Vegas with a simple booth. We kept saying the basic phone for a basic booth because we just had a table. We had a table, a banner, and that's it. All the companies around us had like these big signs and everything. But we're a startup, so we didn't have like a ton of money to buy all those things. But it
Sure.
didn't matter. It gave us a ton of attention. People were like, "What is this?" Like, and then people came and talked, and some people loved the idea, and other people were like, I don't want something simple. They showed me their phones. They had like 1,000 apps on it. I'm like, all right, this is not for you.
Yep. So speaking of which, that actually is something I had wanted to ask about. What could you speak a little bit to the difference between, or maybe some of the biggest differences between the operating system that it is going to run? I don't know if it has a name or not, but I know it's, or at least I'm understanding it's a Linux mobile version. How does that compare to, say, Android in terms of app
Yeah.
of our? Because I think I've read that some Linux mobile have a compatibility with some Android. Anyway, maybe you could talk to that a
Yeah.
little bit so the users, because I know people are going to ask me about it.
100%.
What are some of the capabilities of your operating system, and maybe even more importantly, what are things that you won't be able to do with Basic Phone from an operating systems side that people maybe are used to being able to do on iOS or Android?
Yeah. So there's also something I forgot to mention. There's like a intentional limitation with our basic phone. And this one is we don't use like extremely low end hardware, but we use just enough hardware so that you can do the things that matter, like texting, calling, all that stuff. And the OS that we're using is just a Debian command line OS, and then we
Mm.
render directly onto the frame buffer, so we can render UI onto the screen. But it's actually just like a command line OS, and this is to make it
Oh.
super lightweight. And the things that you can't do with it, and we even tried ourselves, is to run APKs onto it, because there is ways you can hack. Well, not it's not like really a hack, but it's just to run like Android apps onto Linux,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't do it with our phone because it's just low enough hardware that it won't run the apps, and which is perfect side effect, because we don't want people. Well, people can do what they want with the phone, right? They can hack it. We don't mind, but the original intention is for people to not use distracting apps.
Mm.
And the plan in the future too is to have kind of like an open app store, so people can design apps if they want to, and they can just put their apps, and it won't be like Apple where it's very restrictive. Like, well, it'll be restrictive in one way where we don't allow like games or just like distracting apps, but it'll
Mm.
be like anything productive or useful for you. So I really believe that people could benefit from adopting this phone, because, or even any dumb phone in general, because their lives will improve. They'll stop, spending 4 or 5 hours on the phones, and use it as it's supposed to be used. And it'll be really painful at first. Like, it could take weeks to, you'll be bored and everything, but eventually you'll be like, whoa, I have so much time, and you'll start doing important things again.
Well, and I think it's interesting you use the word bored, because I have found, just in my own attempts getting back on track in terms of using tech in a way that is more for my benefit as opposed to just compulsively, addictively wasting a bunch of time. There can be a lot of power in boredom, where you just have the ability to let your mind sort of create on its own without having a bunch of, like you had mentioned with the screen, the flashing colors and the distracting, everything about modern app design, I feel like, is just to get you glued to the screen. And so you
Yeah.
don't, we don't really have the ability to be bored anymore, broadly speaking. And so
Yeah.
I think that is a very important aspect of what you're describing. I wanted to throw you, as you've described things, I'm like, oh, what he just said reminded me of minimal phone, and then
Oh
the
yeah.
next sentence, oh, actually more like side phone, and it's like this duality. Whereas
Yeah.
Linux mobile will be, my understanding, much different than the Android based operating systems of either of those. One thing I wanted to ask you about is this. You mentioned you're hosting your own server. Will the phone
Oh yeah.
need to communicate to any of the big, shall we say, any of the parts of the internet where people might be worried about their data being snooped, whether it's Google servers, Amazon, Microsoft, or will they essentially it just be totally up to them whether
Yeah.
they need that or not?
So most of the phone is like only going to connect to your ISP. So if you're like with AT&T, for example, like when you make calls, it'll just use AT&T to make calls. Texting, same thing. So it's
Mm,
just going to be SMS to start, but eventually we'll look into rich text messaging.
mm,
So all the services, like I said earlier, like we're trying to be as independent as possible, and the people will be independent too. So uh, when they use the maps, we'll have instructions on how to host your own map server if you want to,
oh, cool.
but we'll provide that as well, like for users that are not super tech savvy. And the server for maps that's completely not Google, like it's called OpenStreetMaps,
Mm,
and this is completely free. And some of the things that we want to support on the phone will need to run on other services. So, for example, WhatsApp is pretty difficult to get to run without web or without like iOS or Android. So we'll have like a specific server for things that aren't runnable typically on Linux phones. But this server will be provided for non-tech savvy users, but will also provide instructions on how to do it yourself. So
mm.
it's completely open and optional for, it gives people the chance to, "Oh, I don't want to deal with setting up a server. I'll just use the Bouchard Industries one, and we can look at the code for the server, but it's hard right now to verify like, okay, we're running this specific code on the server, like, and it'll be something to look into, but people can see the code that we'll be using for the most part. So, and I think people will be okay with all those options.
Awesome. No, I love that. And I think that that is a really cool approach to be able to give end users that maybe aren't super technically inclined an option to just make
Yeah.
use of, the materials or even just the services that you guys will provide. But then for those that are more technically inclined, giving them that option as well. I love that. It's that's another thing that I feel is very much the opposite direction of what you see a lot of the big tech providers nowadays. They want you locked in to their walled garden. I've heard the term used a lot, where you really do kind of find yourself stuck. I mean, you mentioned some of the functionality limitations of WhatsApp, or a lot of people don't realize that some of these applications to function fully require a connection to the Google mothership or the whatever mothership, the
Yeah.
Apple mothership. And so I think that's really cool that you guys are being very cognizant of that from the beginning, so that it still provides a good user experience in addition to, all of the benefits of not being tracked and the privacy side of things as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all part of the core values, right? So we're trying to, in our mission, we're just trying to improve people's lives. And I think, again, we need to be respected more with technology. And
Mm,
like, I'm a huge tech guy. I love, all the new stuff I saw at CS was amazing, but it's starting to go in a direction that I think a lot of people don't like, like with AI and all that stuff. So like we have zero AI in the phone. Like we're not
mm,
even thinking about AI. And most tech companies, and we did try a little bit, during 2023, we were dabbling a bit with AI, but it just didn't seem that useful for us at the time. And there's some huge use cases for it, and it's great. I think it has some great potential, but it has no place in this project. And if people want it to, like, we can make it optional if they want it. But I really think it's amazing for us too. Like, we're kind of separating ourselves with the noise right
mm,
now. This project is completely separated from what's happening right now with the growth of technology and all that stuff. It's actually going the other direction, but it's tackling a problem that is happening right now and that'll get worse, especially with the new generation. And actually the any generation, you can see them, they're kind of hooked on the phones. And but maybe too, like maybe we're not supposed to tell people what to do with their time. Like if they enjoy being on their phones, that's fine too. But
Mm.
maybe there's like 10% of people that realize that this is an issue, right? Like uh, some social media are just kind of scrolling and you're not learning anything. You're just uh, it's a habit, right?
Hmm.
So
Well, and I think to that point, I think that there is something to be said about leading the way, but not necessarily forcing the way. I feel
mhm.
like anymore, we specifically, I think in North America, have become so hesitant to offend anyone. Sometimes we refrain from even making recommendations for fear of being perceived a certain way. But
That's
I
true.
like I think that what you just described is the difference between leading versus forcing. You can lead by example without trying to shove it down someone's throat. Those two things can happen. They can exist at the same time, and
Yeah.
that's the impression that I've got just as I followed the project from when I had first heard about it, and I can really appreciate it. Going back to something that you said, I think towards the beginning of our discussion here, how the internet used to be almost a place in your home. That
Yeah.
was like the internet. It was the family computer, or it was maybe the your dad's laptop. If he was traveling for business or whatnot, and it was kind of there. I feel like the transition from that to being like a place in your home, the internet being a place, to the internet being like always in your pocket, oppressive. Um,
Yeah.
so okay, final question here for you. Progress on the project. What timelines are we looking at? Do you have any information about like availability, pricing? Where it will be shipped to? I know it's still pretty early on, but anything you could
Yeah.
share, I'm sure the listeners would love to have.
Yeah, sure. Just don't take this like face value, like it's just what we're trying to do, like the targets, the timelines, and the prices. Just don't take it with a grain of salt for now.
It's early. It's early.
Yeah, still early, but yeah. So progress. We wanted to initially use specific hardware, and we used it on the V1 prototype. But we realized that it was not scalable at all. So we spent a lot of time talking with people that are very deep in making hardware and a lot of companies. And we spent months after CS just kind of researching on that and talking with folks. And essentially, we decided to move to other hardware, which is very similar to what we had before, but now it's like very scalable. So we just have to uh, right now we're like testing every component if they work all together, and it's almost done to say okay, it's all working together. There's just a few more components to try to make sure. And we're also as we do that, we're also designing the board. So
Mm.
we're like putting all the board together and putting all the components and making sure it's going to make sense and has to fit like in a case, like a phone case type thing. So it's a lot of work to get all of this solidified, plus the software. So this is really fun on our side though, because in the past it was mostly like software that we did,
Mm.
but now it's amalgamation of hardware and software. So it's crazy how much work it is, but I really enjoy it and the team enjoys it as well. And uh, yeah, it's going very well. So we're doing a BOM list. So it has like all the items that you need to put on the PCB, and we're contacting every company that makes those chips and those components and making sure they'll produce it for the next years to come, so that we're not designing a board that will just work for the next like 6 months. That would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of unknowns for us too, so we're learning as we go. So, but this is our like we've done some PCB work before, but this is our first commercial hardware product. So it's not something you take lightly. You need to like quadruple, like 10 times check your work, because this is a physical product that you ship, and if it's something's wrong with it, there's recalls.
Mm.
It's very delicate. So a lot of risk assessments and a lot of things like that are on our plates. But timelines were hoping to have a board ready by September. So
Okay.
September, October. So if we have a board ready, and have it in a case and everything, then for like the second prototype, then we should be able to launch a Kickstarter. So we're planning between September and February. So
Mm.
late 2026, early 2027. But again, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe some hiccups will happen, but it's going really good right now. Like knock on wood, that's going smooth. Price range, it's going to be around $399.
Mm.
Might be lower, might be a bit higher, but that's kind of what our good feeling so far from the list of materials and just how much it costs to make the 4-layer boards. But we might be able to bring that cost down if we do the final assembly here in Canada,
Mm.
because we're making the boards in China right now and assembling them in China. But if we make them in-house, then we'll be able to save a lot.
Mm.
Obviously, making 4-layer boards is very expensive. Like you need expensive machines. But if we can at least assemble it in Canada, we'll save quite a bit on that stuff, and it's totally doable. Our company will be able to do that. So I'm very aware too of trying to make this work for as many countries as I can.
Mm.
So I'm targeting the US as well, and Canada and Europe as much as possible. So we're gonna have to like certify with FCC and all that stuff for the US, and so we're very aware of all of the certifications, requirements, and all that stuff. So
Sounds fun. Maybe not when it comes to certifications, but
one step at a time.
yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I'll go ahead and put links to everything in the description, but where can people find you? Where can people find Bouchard Industries, website, social media, anything you'd like to leave?
If you just take a look at one of our links, the Kickstarter is one of our best place to follow us. And then my website is bouchardindustries.com. That's where all of our past projects and our current projects is on there. And if you want to see more detail about the basic phone, then go on dumbphone.ca, and it'll give you more in-depth detail. So like hardware specs, and you can also sign up for the newsletter as well.
Awesome. Well, I know I'm going to do that right once we're done here. I don't think I've done that yet. Shame on me, but awesome. Well, Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll have to get you back on again as we get closer to the fall and winter time and get some updates from you.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thanks so much.